The world's top 10 most incredible construction projects. Operating an excavator on a 5,000-meter cliff only ranks 10th. The first place shocked the world and can be called hell-level difficulty. When you're in the office complaining that work is too busy and your boss is so difficult you're your wit's end, on the other side of the earth, there's a group of people risking their lives to build, going head-to-head with nature. From Japan's invisible demolition, where a 40-story building is quietly swallowed with no blasting and no dust, to the Burj Khalifa window cleaners with an annual salary of $30,000, hanging 828 meters in the air 4 times a year without fail. There's even the 57-kilometer Gotthard-based tunnel in Switzerland, excavated from both ends over 17 years of working in darkness, all for a precise connection. These are not simple projects. They are humanity's declaration of war on its own limits. In this episode, follow global superlatives as we take a look at the world's top 10 most incredible construction sites. Each one is crazier than the last. We look forward to your subscription and likes. 10th place, cliff construction. In Tibet, China, on a cliff at an altitude of 5,000 meters, a drone captured this shocking footage. An excavator is working on a steep cliff. Below, it is an endless abyss and a turbulent river. It seems like danger could strike at any moment. As far as the eye can see, the entire mountain has no vegetation, only cold sand, stone, and howling winds. If a landslide were to unfortunately occur, the consequences would be unimaginable. If a single operational error caused it to fall into the deep abyss below, your life wouldn't be spared. Let alone operating an excavator to work up there, an ordinary person just looking at these images would already be terrified. How can this be called construction? This is simply a high-altitude stunt show and a game of life and death. This is the construction process of the Sky Road on the cliffs of China's Nujiang River. It is located within Baksoi County, Kamdo, Tibet Autonomous Region. Because of its treacherous terrain and numerous winding mountain roads, it is also known as the 72 bends of the Nujiang River. Looking down at the winding and perilous mountain range from above, your heart will surely race and you'll break out in a cold sweat. From this, one can understand how hellishly difficult it must be to complete the construction of these mountain roads and fully open them. Generally speaking, once an ordinary person goes above 3,000 meters in altitude, they will experience severe altitude sickness, such as difficulty breathing, chest tightness, and headaches, making it impossible to stay there for long. Even if you overcome the physical reactions, something even more deadly follows: psychological fear. The endless valley, the rushing river, the biting cold wind. Every step is filled to the brim with danger. In this situation, even survival is a challenge, let alone operating an excavator. Therefore, anyone who can drive an excavator and work steadily on a nearly 90-degree vertical cliff is definitely a master. This is not only another masterpiece of China's infrastructure maniacs, but also a true testament to these excavator masters bravely fighting against a harsh environment. When cars slowly drive into the 72 bends of the Nujiang River, experiencing a life-or-death journey, they will never forget the men who clung tightly to the cliff face back then and carved out the Sky Road. 9th place, Gotthard-based tunnel. Digging a tunnel through both sides of the Alps simultaneously. How do you ensure they connect precisely inside the mountain? What we see before us is the world's longest railway tunnel, the Gotthard-based tunnel. It is located in the Swiss Alps, with a total length of 57 kilometers and a depth of up to 2,438 meters. It connects Erstfeld in northern Switzerland with Bodio in the south. The entire project cost $14.9 billion and it took 17 years to complete. It is hailed as a vital hub for north-south transport in Europe and a great miracle in the history of Swiss architecture. One of the difficulties of this project was digging through the entire tunnel, requiring precise coordination in all aspects. The entire process was time-consuming and laborious. For a full 17 years, it spanned the prime years of every worker's life. Many people couldn't endure it and quit midway, but many others stayed until the project was completed. During this time, they saw their own children grow up, and the hardship involved is imaginable. If you still can't understand the difficulty of this project, then close your eyes and imagine. For a full 17 years, you're constantly working inside a pitch-black tunnel. What kind of state would that be? Wouldn't you feel abandoned by the world? If you rely on your strong willpower to overcome this feeling, you will then face the second challenge. As we mentioned earlier, how to precisely align the two parts so they connect perfectly. To achieve this goal, engineers first used navigation satellites to create a map over the entire mountain. Then, they built reference points on the surface to design the most rational construction route. But the entire project is underground, where even navigation satellites cannot reach. So, engineers pioneered the use of a series of lasers to accurately measure the angle of the path forward. By comparing this data, they guided the tunnel boring machine's path. But this was only the ideal scenario. The slightest deviation would cause the entire route to go off course, leading to irreversible consequences. So, during the construction process, everyone's expression was incredibly solemn. They dared not relax for a moment. Everyone was repeatedly and constantly adjusting the construction angle, striving to achieve the most perfect state. On one hand, there was the fear brought by the deep, dark tunnel. On the other, there was the tension from not allowing the slightest error. These two forces constantly clashed within them and became the biggest challenge on the construction site. Of course, the challenges faced by the construction team were far from over. To speed up the project, they not only used advanced tunnel boring machines, but also used blasting methods for excavation. They placed 400 kilograms of dynamite into more than 100 drill holes in the tunnel and then detonated them with precision. This would clear the rubble, but what followed was the potential for unpredictable dangers. If a collapse were to occur from above, the situation would become extremely dire. So, the construction team built 3 large shelters along the tunnel's path. When danger occurred, workers could temporarily enter the shelters and wait for rescue personnel. During this process, many workers couldn't continue and chose to resign, but many more persisted for 17 years. If the engineers were the core of this great project, then these persevering workers were the greatest heroes of this underground tunnel. They endured prolonged darkness, loneliness, and the unknown, performing highly difficult operations day after day. They overcame the limits of human physiology and wrote a tunnel legend. They're the truly amazing ones. 8th place, Taklamakan Desert Highway. In the Taklamakan Desert, a place where even camels despair, what is it like to build a highway? What we see before us is the 330,000 square kilometer Taklamakan Desert. It is located in the Darim Basin in southern Xinjiang, China. It is China's largest desert and the world's second largest shifting sand desert. This place is desolate and uninhabited with sparse vegetation. As far as the eye can see, there is only barrenness and solitude. Only sandstorms rage from time to time, burying everything in their path. No wonder it has another name, the place closest to death. The difficulty of building a highway here is imaginable. The reason the construction team did this was definitely not because they had too much money to spend, but because they discovered high-yield oil and gas fields in the heart of the Taklamakan Desert. This is a precious resource for humanity. Due to the special environment, there was no road leading directly to the heart of the Taklamakan Desert. Taking other routes would consume a great deal of manpower and resources. Therefore, the construction team came up with the idea of building a highway that goes straight to the heart of the Taklamakan Desert to facilitate the subsequent transport of oil and gas. But building a highway in the desert is easier said than done. The first thing the engineers needed to consider was how to build a stable foundation in the shifting sand. At the beginning, engineers tried countless methods, all of which ended in failure. Seeing the budget about to run out, they were worried sick. Fortunately, after countless experiments, they finally came up with a brilliant method. That is to compact the sand, lay a layer of geotextile made of synthetic fibers on top, then cover it with stone materials collected from the edge of the desert, and finally, roll on a layer of asphalt pavement. After these few steps, the originally shifting sand was instantly fixed in place. Moreover, this fully utilized the sand and stone in the desert, minimizing construction costs. Seeing that one problem was solved, the engineers began to work intensively. However, when they were about to enter the heart of the desert, another problem arose. The project needed to pass through a poplar forest. The soil composition here was countless times worse than before. The saline alkali soil here was like flour, with almost zero water content, and was extremely prone to erosion. The method used before could not fix it. So what should they do? Was the hard-won project going to be abandoned just like that? The engineers racked their brains and finally came up with a good solution. First, widen the base of the roadbed. In the middle of the base, dig a trench according to the actual road surface area. Then, raise the sides of the roadbed so that the sand will not flow freely. After that, lay a layer of red clay and goby soil on top, and then sprinkle a large amount of water to saturate it. After compaction, lay the foundation, and the foundation will be firmly fixed on top. Just like that, the foundation of the highway leading to the heart of the desert was built. But this was only the beginning of the entire project. Due to the special environment of the Taklamakan Desert, even after the highway was built, it could still be ravaged by sandstorms. The engineers had considered the problem of windbreak and sand fixation from the very beginning. These squares made of reeds and straw are the engineers' clever trick for windbreak and sand fixation. On the outside of the squares, there are also secretly woven reed walls that can block the raging sandstorms. Of course, what's more important is to plant plants adapted to the desert climate on both sides of the highway to block the shifting sand. It's not enough to just build the road. They also have to plant grass and trees and maintain them later. The whole project was as difficult as climbing to the sky. In this process, the hardest working were the original construction team. Working in the desert, they had to face the problems of lack of water and food. Even basic living conditions could not be guaranteed. Every day, they had to be accompanied by loneliness and confusion. In such a place unsuitable for human survival, they built a straight highway. This process is beyond our imagination. We truly admire these builders. 7th place, the Ice Hotel. In a small European town, nearly 200 kilometers from the Arctic Circle, there's a hotel built entirely of ice. The hotel has 35 uniquely designed rooms, and each room has an ice bed weighing several tons. From the outside, it looks like a training ground from a martial arts novel, filled with a strange atmosphere. It seems that before you even step inside, you can already feel the bone-chilling cold. Many tourists travel thousands of miles to come here just to experience this unique living environment. And for such a one-of-a-kind ice hotel, the construction difficulty was definitely beyond imagination. Unlike other hotels, this hotel needs to be rebuilt every year. After all, the lifespan of ice is limited. Every March, the construction team begins to prepare. At this time, after a long winter, the ice layer becomes exceptionally thick, making it very suitable for building the hotel. The workers will first draw straight lines on the ice blocks. This is the most direct and primitive construction plan. Then, the operating machine will follow the fixed route to divide the ice into grids. Don't be fooled by how cool and handsome the operator looks while driving the machine. In fact, this process is very dangerous. Once the force is not applied properly, not only will it be impossible to quarry complete ice blocks, but it will also cause the surrounding ice blocks to break, and eventually, the person and the machine will fall directly into the cold river water. When a special machine for transporting ice blocks carefully lifts the cut ice blocks, the operator is definitely terrified. He seems to be able to hear the sound of ice cracking at any time. Every midnight, the temperature here will drop to around minus 30 degrees Celsius. People standing outdoors will shiver with cold. Those with weak bodies may faint directly. The construction team wears thick clothes and special masks, but they still cannot resist the invasion of the cold. Moreover, when the temperature drops sharply, the ice blocks will contract rapidly and even explode suddenly. So they must quickly transport the ice blocks to the warehouse before the temperature drops. After more than 10 days of operation, they finally collected enough ice blocks to build the hotel. After that, these ice blocks will be transported outdoors at the right time to build this magnificent ice hotel. Due to global warming, the ice here is becoming increasingly scarce. But the number of people who book the hotel every year is only increasing, which is also a headache for the hotel. Another victim of global warming. 6th place, invisible demolition. No blasting, no noise, you can't even see the workers. Such a magnificent building slowly shrinks before your eyes until it completely disappears. This is Japan's world-renowned invisible demolition method. While other countries around the world are still using crude methods to demolish buildings, Japan is already at the forefront of the times. The 40-story Tokyo building before us is undergoing demolition. In order not to affect the surrounding residents and not to damage the environment, the construction team built a scaffolding equivalent to 3 stories high. Its outer layer is all made of soundproof materials. The 15 columns erected on each floor are supported by a rigid structure, which is convenient for workers to operate and construct inside. After the project begins, the workers will first gradually dismantle the steel bars, concrete, and other structures of each floor. For every floor dismantled, the jack will be lowered by 1 floor, and at the same time, the scaffolding will be lowered by 1 floor. And the same steps are repeated. The whole process is as smooth as playing Tetris. It seems that in no time, a building is completely eliminated. Compared with the traditional blasting method, this demolition method is completely silent and does not affect the surrounding residents. The disadvantage is that it takes too long. Others can blow up a building in 1 day, but he needs half a year to dismantle it. If it were you, which demolition method would you prefer? 5th place, Baihetan Hydropower Station. The whole world couldn't imagine that China could spend $180 billion to build a steel dragon on a cliff. The floodwater it discharges every second is enough to fill 80 Olympic swimming pools. Its power generation could keep the entire city of New York lit up for 3 years. This is the world's 2nd largest hydropower station, China's Baihetan Hydropower Station. Unlike traditional straight-line dams, the Baihetan Hydropower Station adopts a double curvature arch dam design, making the dam look like a folding fan. Through precise calculations, engineers converted millions of tons of water pressure into support from the mountain, thereby achieving the effect of using softness to overcome hardness, allowing the dam's seismic resistance to reach level 8 or higher. And below the dam, the construction team built an underground world like a subterranean palace. It contains many huge pieces of equipment, from an 8.5-meter diameter turbine runner to a 1,000,000-volt power transmission system, as well as the world's first 1 million kilowatt hydro turbine generator unit. The electricity generated by 1 rotation is enough for a family of 3 to use for 7 years. The entire project is so spectacular, it will leave you in awe. Of course, during the construction process, the engineering team also encountered many difficulties. For example, the main structure of the Baihetan Hydropower Station is on a piece of columnar basalt. This structure is very special, like a bundle of chopsticks held together. Although it looks very stable, if any part is damaged, the entire structure will collapse with it. This greatly increased the difficulty of construction and was a major headache for the construction team at the time. In the end, under pressure, the construction team designed a completely new method. Since the various parts were very loose, they decided to use special materials to bond them together. Thus, they created the micro-crack grouting method. Simply put, they filled the gaps between the rock columns with slurry, and after it solidified, it formed a single entity for construction. From this, we can see that building such a magnificent Baihetan hydropower station was definitely not something that could be done overnight. Behind are not only 30,000 technical patents and breakthroughs in 2,000 new materials, but more importantly, the round-the-clock efforts of countless frontline workers. They're the most respectable. 4th place, Burj Khalifa. Do you know how the 828-meter high Burj Khalifa in Dubai gets its windows cleaned? What we are seeing now is the window cleaning situation on the exterior of this world-class skyscraper. These workers, with a monthly salary of $30,000, slowly descend from high above with safety ropes, clinging to the glass exterior like Spider-Man, carefully wiping the outer glass. Although it looks somewhat heroic, it's actually more worrying. This is a building hundreds of meters high. Just looking down would make one's legs weak, let alone working on it. The Burj Khalifa has nearly 30,000 glass panels, with a total area of 103,000 square meters. This is the face of Dubai. To keep it shining, cleaning the glass is a top priority. But such a huge project cannot be completed in a day or two. These workers carry cleaning buckets with them and continuously descend along the glass exterior, wiping away the dirt bit by bit. With so much glass, it takes 3 months just to finish cleaning it all once. Dubai requires it to be cleaned 4 times a year, which means these workers have to work here almost every day. They have become a unique sight in this building. Perhaps some people think that cleaning glass here must be very glaring. Plus, with Dubai's weather, each piece of glass will become extremely hot. This is not a job for humans. But how could Dubai, with so much money to spare, not understand this? Every piece of their glass has a secret. The outside of the glass has a silver coating that can reflect some of the ultraviolet rays. The titanium coating on the inside can reflect infrared rays. The combination of these two materials can block 40% of the heat from entering the interior. Even on the outside of the glass, you won't feel the scorching heat. Each piece of such glass is worth $2,000. The glass alone cost $60 million. Add to that the cost of cleaning by these operators, and you can see how extravagant Dubai is. Just from this detail, we can know how much money was spent on the construction of the Burj Khalifa in Dubai. The number is probably beyond our imagination. Third place, plank roads. Just as dangerous as cleaning the Burj Khalifa in Dubai are these workers who build plank roads. They are now under a cliff, risking their lives to build a plank road. This job is not only a great test of skill, but also a challenge to the limits of human physiology. After all, below is a bottomless abyss. Plank roads are generally built in scenic areas. What we're seeing now is a mountainous area in Chongqing, China. The mountains here are very steep, mostly composed of rock, making it impossible to excavate inside. They can only build plank roads on the outside for tourists to pass. Building a plank road on a cliff is as difficult as climbing to the sky. The worker before us has taken on this heavy task. He will first build the basic skeleton. Since the mountain is steep and there are no handrails, he must be tied with a safety rope and also hold onto a rope hanging vertically to maintain balance. Above him, another operator holds the rope tightly, coordinating with him. These skeletons are all made of steel pipes. They are firmly inserted into the rock and then reinforced with nails on top, so that wooden boards can be laid on them. Although the construction work is starting to take shape, looking down is still dizzying. Especially when the masters are working on the wooden boards, it's really nerve-wracking for them. To be honest, the risk factor of such work is too high. It's only right that they get paid well. A typical cliff plank road often takes several months from the basic construction to the final completion. The workers here work under the scorching sun every day in great fear. Only at night can they rest well. They generally have heavy family burdens and are counting on this money to solve their family's difficulties, so they usually don't leave easily. When we walk on the plank roads between the cliffs in a scenic area, perhaps what you feel is not only the beautiful scenery around you, but also the spirit of these construction workers who are striving to live. Second place, Tokyo's underground waterway. What you see before you is Japan's underground shrine. Of course, this is not a scene from a doomsday movie. Its true identity is the world's largest underground drainage system, built 50 meters below Saitama Prefecture, Tokyo, at a cost of 240 billion yen over 14 years. 59 pillars weighing 500 tons each support 5 deep caissons, with huge vertical shafts that can accommodate the space shuttle. The entire project is as magnificent as an ancient Greek temple. Its function is also very powerful. When a flood comes, the accumulated water will be discharged along the river channels, and the vertical shafts will then fill the reservoir for emergencies. The entire process is automated and requires no manual labor. The drainage capacity is as high as 200 cubic meters per second, comparable to a medium-sized hydropower station. After the project was completed, it effectively alleviated the problem of floods in the areas surrounding Saitama Prefecture, Japan. The number of houses damaged by heavy rain was also reduced from more than 40,000 to 200, and the flooded area was reduced from 27,800 hectares to 65 hectares. The effect is very shocking. The construction difficulty at that time was also hell level. Even though Japan's drainage system has now been completed, professional maintenance personnel have to go down to inspect it every year. The whole process is like going down into an underground palace in a doomsday movie, full of a sense of magic and futuristic technology. I believe that every maintenance person who comes here for the first time is shocked by it. First place, Mount Everest Weather Station. What we are seeing now is the precious footage from May 4th, 2022, of China's scientific expedition team successfully reaching the summit of Mount Everest and setting up the first weather station on Everest. From their cheers on the scene, we can feel that this project must have a very magnificent significance. And indeed it does. The height of Mount Everest is 8,848 meters. As the highest peak in the world, it has always played a mythical role in people's hearts. The difficulty of climbing, it is also the highest in the world. Due to the special environment, the temperature at the top of Mount Everest has reached -61.3 degrees Celsius. This is completely beyond the limits of human endurance. The process from the foot of the mountain to the top is never smooth. The climate of Mount Everest is complex and changeable, and is often unpredictable even within a single day. No one can predict it in advance. The treacherous terrain is also the biggest feature of Mount Everest. Mount Everest is covered with snow, and the terrain is steep. Such terrain would be daunting even in an ordinary area, let alone its extremely high altitude and unpredictable weather conditions. It's like playing a doomsday escape game, constantly gambling with death. Someone described the process of climbing Mount Everest this way. The whole process is full of ups and downs, and a slight carelessness will lead to death. After reaching the top of the mountain, due to the thin air, people often suffocate. Countless people have fallen on the top of Mount Everest. Under such circumstances, the Chinese scientific expedition team's ascent to the summit of Mount Everest is definitely a great project. They not only have to contend with extreme weather, but also have to manually carry huge meteorological tools. Every step is a challenge. Those who can make it to the end not only have climbing skills, but also extreme perseverance. When blizzards, hypoxia, and extreme cold come one after another, when the altitude of more than 8,000 meters hits people's souls, these scientific researchers can still move forward firmly. They have already become supermen. They are heroes. Of these 10 most extreme construction projects, which one shocked you the most? Leave a comment and let me know. Remember to subscribe, like, and share. See you tomorrow at Global Superlatives, updated daily.